Because Krishna Janmashtami is next week, right?
Friday.
So we just read first chapter called the Advent of Lord Krishna. Once the world was overburdened by the unnecessary defense force of different kings, who were actually demons but were posing themselves as the royal order. At that time, the whole world became perturbed, and the predominating deity of this earth, known as Bhumi, went to see Lord Brahma to tell of her calamities due to the demoniac kings. Bhumi assumed the shape of a cow and presented herself before Lord Brahma with tears in her eyes. She was bereaved and was weeping just to invoke the Lord's compassion. She related the calamitous position of the earth, and after hearing this, Lord Brahma became much aggrieved, and he at once started for the ocean of milk, where Lord Vishnu resides. Lord Brahma was accompanied by all the demigods, headed by Lord Shiva, and Bhumi also followed. Arriving on the shore of the milk ocean, Lord Brahma began to pacify Lord Vishnu, who had formerly saved the earthly planet by assuming the transcendental form of a boar. In the Vedic mantras, there is a particular type of prayer called Purusha Sukta. Generally, the demigods offer their obeisances unto Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by chanting the Purusha Sukta. It is understood herein that the predominating deity of every planet can see the Supreme Lord of the universe, Brahma, whenever there is some disturbance on his planet. And Brahma can approach the Supreme Lord Vishnu not by seeing him directly, but by standing on the shore of the ocean of milk. There is a planet within this universe called Shvetadvipa, and on that planet there is an ocean of milk. It is understood from various Vedic literatures that just as there is the ocean of salt water on this planet, there are various kinds of oceans on other planets. Somewhere there is an ocean of milk, somewhere there is an ocean of oil, and somewhere there is an ocean of liquor and of many other types of liquids. The Purusha Sukta is the standard prayer which the demigods recite to appease the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. Because he is lying on the ocean of milk, he is called Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. He is the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, through whom all the incarnations within this universe appear. After all the demigods offered the Purusha Sukta prayer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they apparently heard no response. Then Lord Brahma personally sat in meditation, and there was a message transmission from Lord Vishnu to Brahma. Brahma then broadcast the message to the demigods. That is the system of receiving Vedic knowledge. The Vedic knowledge is received first by Brahma from the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the medium of the heart. As stated in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kalaye, the transcendental knowledge of the Vedas was transmitted to Lord Brahma through the heart. Here also, in the same way, only Brahma could understand the message transmitted by Lord Vishnu, and he broadcast it to the demigods for their immediate action. The message was this: the Supreme Personality of Godhead would appear on the earth very soon, along with his supreme powerful potencies, and as long as he remained on the earth planet to execute his mission of annihilating the dead demons and establishing the devotees, the demigods should also remain there to assist him. They should all immediately take birth in the family of the Yadu dynasty, wherein the Lord would also appear in due course of time. The Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, Krishna, would personally appear as the son of Vasudeva. Before his appearance, all the demigods, along with their wives, should appear in different pious families in the world just to assist the Lord in executing his mission. The exact word used here is Tat Priyaktam, which means the demigods should appear on the earth in order to please the Lord. In other words, any living entity who lives only to satisfy the Lord is a demigod. The demigods were further informed that Ananta, the plenary portion of Lord Krishna, was maintaining the universal planets by extending his millions of hoods, would also appear on earth before Lord Krishna's appearance. They were also informed that the external potency of Vishnu, mind, with whom all the conditioned souls are enamored, would also appear by the order of Supreme Lord, just to execute his purpose. After instructing and pacifying all the demigods, as well as Bhumi, with sweet words, Lord Brahma, the father of all Prajapatis, or progenitors of the universal population, departed for his own abode. the highest material planet, called Brahmaloka. The leader of the Yadu dynasty, King Shurasena, was ruling over the country known as Mathura, wherein lies the city of Mathura, as well as the district known as Shurasena, which was named after him. On account of the rule of King Shurasena, Mathura became the capital city of all the kings of the Yadus. Mathura was also made the capital of the kings of the Yadu dynasty because the Yadus were a very pious family and knew that Mathura is the place where Lord Shri Krishna lives eternally, just as he also lives in Dwarka. Once upon a time, Vasudeva, the son of Shurasena, just after marrying Devaki, was going home on his chariot with his newly wedded wife. The father of Devaki, known as Devaka, had contributed a sufficient dowry because he was very affectionate toward his daughter. He had contributed hundreds of chariots completely decorated with gold equipment. At that time, Kamsa, the son of Ugrasena, in order to please his sister Devaki, had voluntarily taken the reins of the horses of Vasudeva's chariot and was driving. According to the custom of the Vedic civilization, when a girl is married, the brother takes the sister and brother-in-law to their home. Because the newly married girl may feel too much separation from her father's family, the brother goes with her until she reaches her father-in-law's house. The full dowry contributed by Devaka was as follows: 400 elephants fully decorated with golden garlands, 15,000 decorated horses, and 1,800 chariots. He also arranged for 200 beautiful girls to follow his daughter. The Kshatriya system of marriage, still current in India, dictates that when a Kshatriya is married, a few dozen of the bride's young girlfriends, in addition to the bride, go to the house of the king. The followers of the queen are called maidservants, but actually they act as friends of the queen. This practice is prevalent from time immemorial, traceable at least to the time before the advent of Lord Krishna, 5,000 years ago. So Vasudeva brought home another 200 beautiful girls along with his wife Devaki. While the bride and bridegroom were passing along on the chariot, there were different kinds of musical instruments playing to indicate the auspicious moment. There were conch shells, bugles, drums, and kettle drums. Combined together, they were vibrating a nice concert. The procession was passing very pleasantly, and Kamsa was driving the chariot, when suddenly there was a miraculous sound vibrated from the sky, which especially announced to Kamsa, "Kamsa, you are such a fool! You are driving the chariot of your sister and your brother-in-law, but you do not know that the 8th child of the sister will kill you." Kamsa was the son of Ugrasena of the Bhoja dynasty. It is said that Kamsa was the most demoniac of all the Bhoja dynasty kings. Immediately after hearing the prophecy from the sky, he caught hold of Devaki's hair and was just about to kill her with a sword. Vasudeva was astonished at Kamsa's behavior, and in order to pacify the cruel, shameless brother-in-law, he began to speak as follows, with great reason and evidence. He said, "My dear brother-in-law Kamsa, you are the most famous king of the Bhoja dynasty, and people know that you are the greatest warrior and violent king. How is that you are so infuriated that you are prepared to kill a woman who is your own sister at this auspicious time of her marriage? Why should you be so much afraid of death? Death is already born along with your birth. From the very day you took your birth, you began to die. Suppose you are 25 years old. That means you have already died 25 years. Every moment, every second, you are dying. Why then should you be so much afraid of death? Final death is inevitable. You may die either today or in 100 years. You cannot avoid death. Why should you be so much afraid? Actually, death means annihilation of the present body. As soon as the present body stops functioning and mixes with the 5 elements of material nature, the living entity within the body accepts another body according to his present actions and reactions. It is just like when a man walks on the street. He puts forward his foot, and when he is confident that his foot is situated on sound ground, he lifts the other foot. In this way, one after another, the bodies change and the soul transmigrates. See how the plant worms change from one twig to another so carefully. Similarly, the living entity changes his body as soon as the higher authorities decide on his next body. As long as living entity is conditioned within this material world, he must take material bodies one after another. His next particular body is offered by the laws of nature according to the actions and reactions of this life. This body is exactly like one of the bodies which we always see in dreams. During our dream of sleep, we create so many bodies according to mental creation. We have seen gold, and we have also seen a mountain, so in a dream we can see a golden mountain by combining the two ideas. Sometimes in dreams we see that we have a body which is flying in the sky, and at that time we completely forget our present body. Similarly, these bodies are changing. When you have one body, you forget the past body. During a dream, we may make contact with so many new kinds of bodies, but when we are awake, we forget them all. And actually, these material bodies are the creations of our mental activities. But at the present moment, we do not recollect our past bodies. The nature of the mind is flickering. Sometimes it accepts something, and immediately it rejects the same thing. Accepting and rejecting is the process of the mind in contact with the five objects of sense gratification: form, taste, smell, sound, and touch. In its speculative way, the mind comes in touch with the objects of sense gratification, and when the living entity desires a particular type of body, he gets it. Therefore, the body is an offering by the laws of material nature. The living entity accepts a body and comes out again into the material world to enjoy or suffer according to the construction of the body. Unless we have a particular type of body, we cannot enjoy or suffer according to our mental proclivities inherited from the previous life. The particular type of body is actually offered to us according to our mental condition at the time of death. The luminous planets like the sun, moon, or stars reflect themselves in different types of reservoirs like water, oil, or ghee. The reflection moves according to the movement of the reservoir. The reflection of the moon is on the water, and the moving water makes the moon also appear to be moving, but actually the moon is not moving. Similarly, by mental concoction the living entity attains different kinds of bodies, although actually he has no connection with such bodies. But on account of illusion, being enchanted by the influence of Maya, the living entity thinks that he belongs to a particular type of body. That is the way of conditioned life. Suppose the living entity is now a human form of a body. He thinks that he belongs to the human community, or a particular country, or particular place. He identifies himself in that way and unnecessarily prepares for another body, which is not required by him. Such desires and mental concoctions are the cause of different types of bodies. The coloring influence of material nature is so strong that the living entity is satisfied in whatever body he gets, and he identifies with that body with great pleasure. Therefore, I beg to request you not to be overwhelmed by the dictation of your mind and body. Vasudeva thus requested Kamsa not to be envious of his newly married sister. One should not be envious of anyone, because envy is the cause of fear both in this world and in the next. When one is before Yamaraja, the Lord of punishment after death, Lord of punishment after death, Vasudeva appealed to Kamsa on behalf of Devaki, stating that she was his younger sister. He also appealed at an auspicious moment at the time of marriage. A younger sister or brother is supposed to be protected as one's child. The position is overall so delicate, Vasudeva reasoned, that if you kill her, it will go against your high reputation. In this way, Vasudeva tried to pacify Kamsa by good instruction as well as by philosophical discrimination. But Kamsa was not to be pacified because his association was demoniac. Because of his demoniac association, he was a demon, although born in a very high royal family. A demon never cares for any good instruction. He is just like a determined thief. One can give him moral instruction, but it will not be effective. Similarly, those who are demoniac or atheistic by nature can hardly assimilate any good instruction, however authorized it may be. That is the difference between demigods and demons. Those who can accept good instruction and try to live their lives in that way are called demigods, and those who are unable to take such good instruction are called demons. Failing in his attempt to pacify Kamsa, Vasudeva wondered how he would protect his wife, Devaki. When there is imminent danger, an intelligent person should try to avoid the dangerous position as far as possible. But if, in spite of endeavoring by all intelligence, one fails to avoid the dangerous position, there is no fault on his part. One should try his best to execute his duties, but if the attempt fails, he is not at fault. Vasudeva thought of his wife as follows: "For the present, let me save the life of Devaki. Then later on, if there are children, I shall see how to save them." He further thought, "If in the future I get a child who can kill Kamsa, just as Kamsa is thinking, then both Devaki and the child will be saved, because the law of providence is inconceivable. But now, some way or other, let me save the life of Devaki." There is no certainty how a living entity contacts a certain type of body, just as there is no certainty how a blazing fire comes in contact with a certain type of wood in the forest. When there is a forest fire, it is experienced that the blazing fire sometimes leaps over one tree and catches another by the influence of the wind. Similarly, a living entity may be very careful in the matter of executing his duties, but it is still very difficult for him to know what type of body he is going to get in the next life. Maharaja Bharata was very faithfully executing the duties of self-realization, but by chance he developed temporary affection for a deer, and in his next life he had to accept the body of a deer. Vasudeva, after deliberating on how to save his wife, began to speak to Kamsa with great respect, although Kamsa was the most sinful man. Sometimes it happens that a most virtuous person like Vasudeva has to flatter a person like Kamsa, a most vicious person. That is the way of all diplomatic transactions. Although Vasudeva was deeply aggrieved, he smiled outwardly. He addressed the shameless Kamsa in that way because he was so atrocious. Vasudeva said to Kamsa, "My dear brother-in-law, please consider that you have no danger from your sister. You are awaiting some danger because you have heard a prophetic voice in the sky. But the danger is to come from the sons of your sister, who are not present now, and who knows, there may or may not be sons in the future. Considering all this, you are safe for the present, nor is there cause of fear from your sister. If there are any sons born of her, I promise that I shall present all of them to you for necessary action." Kamsa knew the value of Vasudeva's word of honor, and he was convinced by his argument. For the time being, he desisted from the heinous killing of his sister. Thus Vasudeva was pleased and praised the decision of Kamsa. In this way he returned to his home. Each year thereafter, in due course of time, Devaki gave birth to a child. Thus she gave birth to 8 male children, as well as 1 daughter. When the first son was born, Vasudeva kept his word of honor and immediately brought the child before Kamsa. It is said that Vasudeva was very much elevated and famous for his word of honor, and he wanted to maintain this fame. Although it was very painful for Vasudeva to hand over the newly born child, Kamsa was very glad to receive him. But he became a little compassionate when the behavior of Vasudeva. This event is very exemplary. For a great soul like Vasudeva, there is nothing considered to be painful in the course of discharging one's duty. A learned person like Vasudeva carries out his duties without hesitation. On the other hand, a demon like Kamsa never hesitates in committing any abominable action. It is said, therefore, that a saintly person can tolerate all kinds of miserable conditions of life. A learned man can discharge his duties without awaiting favorable circumstances. A heinous person like Kamsa can act in any sinful way, and the devotee can sacrifice everything to satisfy the Supreme Personality of God. Kamsa became satisfied by the action of Vasudeva. He was surprised to see Vasudeva keeping his promise, and being compassionate upon him and pleased, he began to speak as follows. My dear Vasudeva, you need not present this child to me. I am not in danger from this child. I have heard that the 8th child born of you and Devaki will kill me. Why should I accept this child unnecessarily? You can take him back. When Vasudeva was returning home with his firstborn child, although he was pleased by the behavior of Kamsa, he could not believe in him because he knew that Kamsa was uncontrolled. An atheistic person cannot be firm in his word of honor. One who cannot control the senses cannot be steady in his determination. The great politician Chanakya Pandita said, "Never put your trust in a diplomat or a woman. Those who are addicted to unrestricted sense gratification can never be truthful, nor can they be trusted with any faith." At that time, the great sage Narada came to Kamsa. He was informed of Kamsa's becoming compassionate to Vasudeva and returning his firstborn child. Narada was very eager to accelerate the descent of Lord Krishna as soon as possible. He therefore informed Kamsa that in Vrindavan personalities like Nanda Maharaj and all the other cowherd men and their wives, and on the other side Vasudeva, his father Shurasana and all his relatives born in the family of Vrishni of the Yadu dynasty, along with all their friends and well-wishers, were actually demigods. Narada warned Kamsa to be careful of them, since Kamsa and his friends and advisors were all demons. Demons are always afraid of demigods. After being thus informed by Narada about the appearance of demigods in different families, Kamsa at once became very much alarmed. He understood that since the demigods had already appeared, Lord Vishnu must be coming soon. He at once arrested both his brother-in-law Vasudeva and Devaki and put them behind prison bars. Within the prison, shackled in iron chains, Vasudeva and Devaki gave birth to a male child year after year, and Kamsa, thinking each of the babies to be the incarnation of Vishnu, killed them one after another. He was particularly afraid of the 8th child, but after the visit of Narada, he came to the conclusion that any child might be Krishna. Therefore, it was better to kill all the babies who took birth from Devaki and Vasudeva. This action of Kamsa is not very difficult to understand. In the history of the world, there are many instances of persons in the royal order who have killed their father, brother, or whole family and friends for the satisfaction of their ambitions. There is nothing astonishing about this, for members of the demonic greedy royal order can kill anyone for their nefarious ambitions. Kamsa was made aware of his previous birth by the grace of Narada. He learned that in his previous birth he had been a demon of the name Kalamini, and that he had been killed by Vishnu. Having now taken his birth in the Bhoja family, he decided to become the deadly enemy of the Yadu dynasty. Krishna was going to take birth in that family, and Kamsa was very much afraid that he would be killed by Krishna, just as he had been killed in his last birth. He first of all imprisoned his father Ugrasena because he was the chief king among the Yadu, Bhoja and Adhaka dynasties, and he also occupied the kingdom of Shurasena, Vasudeva's father. He declared himself the king of all such places. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the first chapter of Krishna, the advent of Lord Krishna. So, this first chapter is finished, and it's just 8:10. So maybe we can just have some discussion. What things?
Yes.
I'd like to say something. Krishna, that when Chanakya Pandit said, never trust a woman, he was an advisor to a king. King is in the royal order, he's dealing with politics. Women who come to the king are not like devotee women. they might be spies or whatnot, so that doesn't refer to all of us. Sometimes it gets like misplaced a little, and you don't trust a woman, maybe a devotee woman who's really a soul,
But also, like, don't trust a politician. Like, there might be a very nice politician, like in your history. I mean, it's just like woman and king. If it's a first designation, not a devotee, then you should not trust him. But if the first designation is devotee, then it's different.
What if it's a woman politician?
Yeah, I heard a class. Someone asked what to do if like we should not trust a woman politician, and it was said that first of all, don't trust politician. So if a woman is politician, don't trust her because she's already a politician.
Yes, okay. Not because she's a woman.
Yeah. But if the first designation to that person is that their soul, we have a woman politician who's a Vaishnava, so then that's different.
She's handicapped.
She's handicapped.
By being a politician.
Yeah, she's surrounded by men who are not devotees, and all politicians. So
it's the men's fault. Yeah. Now that we got that settled. So for me, that particular, I probably have said this before many times, but every time I hear it, reminds me of part of it. It actually, that section right there in the beginning, where Vasudeva says, "Why are you so afraid of death? Death is born along with your birth." So, for over 2 years, at least 2 years anyway, I was associated with devotees, first in Boston, then in San Francisco. Each time I was doing a little bit more. And on Christmas Day, 1970, I went to the San Francisco temple. I was about to leave to go back to New York, and I decided to give a donation. I gave up $100 to Jayananda. And then Chitsukananda, who was the president, he said, no, wait, I'm going to get you a book to read. I said, well, I already have the Bhagavad Gita. And he said, no, it's a new one. It was the Krishna. It had come in a few months prior, during the Rath Yatra. So I said, I don't really want to read the book. I like to, anyway. He said, no, you have to stay here with him, with Jayananda. And he talked to me and said some really nice things. And he was such an amazing personality. He said, my spiritual master has said that I can attain perfection. He said, I'm a fit candidate for attaining perfection. And when I look at you, I think, you too, you can attain perfection. And I'm like, wow, that was it was amazing. He's saying, his guru said that. And now he's saying, I can do it. I can be, wow. So that, then I got the book. And they actually gave me 2 of them. And I was living with a bunch of other like-minded bohemians. And I left one as a gift to all of them. And then I left and went home, and I finished my last semester of college, and then I spent the summer reading the book. And then I saw Prabhupada come at on the airport in New York. And, there's the author, I'm going to go see him. Anyway, but in between all of that, my girlfriend's father died. And he had just 2 weeks prior, it showed me all around what he had achieved in his life by working hard. And you too can have all this if you work hard. You can take care of my daughter like this, he was saying like that. And then, but he's like he'd finally reached the plateau that he wanted. He worked so hard for it. 2 weeks later, he was dead. And this struck me very, because in that time, we were trying, the quote-unquote, that generation, hippie generation, we were trying to run away from materialism. And you could see, this was an example where someone did it, and now it's over. And so when he died, I was so moved by that logic of Vasudeva speaking to Kamsa. Why are you so afraid of death? Death is born along with your birth. And I wrote it out in this condolence card. I wrote the whole thing out. And they didn't exactly appreciate it the same way I did. They were insulted. When I walked in, they were Jewish, and I'm not, and but they sort of accepted me, and they do a thing called Sheva. Sounds like Shiva, it's Shiva, and they sit and they talk about the person and have big food, table of food. And so when I walk in, all the women, they're all just like attack me. Wow, how could you do this? And they see, and then my girlfriend's mother is crying, and they're all like so angry and upset. And her sisters were angry with me. What's wrong with you? Why would you say these things? I said, what do you mean? I'm giving you hope. And so then I spent the next couple of hours surrounded by all of them. And all this time, you have to understand, for over almost 2 years, I was debating the devotees because I knew I had to surrender. And I was like, I knew it. And so I kept coming up with this argument or that argument. And Satsvarup was the one that really, he had the most effect on me at one point, and then Jayananda later. But so now, in this situation though, these people were attacking the Krishna book philosophy, and I'm defending it. All of a sudden now, I'm defending the philosophy that I've been trying to defeat. No, give me a hint, don't you understand? And then finally, one of her cousins says, you sound an awful lot like one of those Hare Krishnas down on Henry Street in Brooklyn. And see, what happened was when I saw that thing with Prabhupada on TV, all I had was an old magazine that said 26 2nd Avenue. Because I went to New York and I couldn't find it. And ordinarily, I could not find it. Every city I went to, I would always hear they were everywhere. Boston, and San Francisco, everywhere. So now I go to the temple, it's gone. And there was no sign saying we moved. I walked up and down Manhattan, crossed this way. Couldn't hear them. I thought for sure they must be out singing somewhere. But they were with Prabhupada in Brooklyn. And so now, all of a sudden, when I'm preaching from my realization of what I've read, someone says, you sound like those Hare Krishnas on Henry Street in Brooklyn. And I go, Henry Street? Brooklyn? Oh, well, is that? And so I sort of nonchalantly say, so is that the one where you think you change trains to Jamaica, or you stay on to Fulton? He said, well, you change there, and you go like that. Because you have the railroad system, Long Island Railroad. And so then, the next morning I got up, I went to Henry Street in Brooklyn. So that passage right there saved my life.
When you were mentioning about Krishna book, what came to my mind was that there was a remembrance by Ramananda, and how he was saying that they want the
Daipan.
Yeah, to have it done at a certain time. I think it was the Lafayette in San Francisco.
Right.
And they were saying, no. And then you say, well, it'll be special. There'll be certain things that are going to come with this. But right when he was ready to go up to the airport, Brahman was going to go into the airplane, they came up with their big black limousine, and they're coming out with their back tucks, and they're holding their hands, and they're going, here. And the lady, the stewardess is saying, come, you got to go. We got to get this plane off. And the man gave the Brahmananda the box of Krishna books. And he took the box of Krishna books. I think it was 20. And he was on the plane, and there was a business guy next to him. And he was like, really, he was looking, the Brahman took the book out, he was looking at it, and the man was looking at it too. And he was saying, wow, this looks nice, can I have one? And he said, sure. And he says, oh, how much are they? And he goes, oh, they're $10. So Brahman got the Krishna book to this man. So when he came to give Prabhupada the Krishna books, Prabhupada said, oh, there's one not here? And Brahman was getting a little scared, but then he told him, oh, I gave it, and I sold it to this man. And Prabhupada was like so very pleased. And what came to my mind was when at the Rock Yacha in San Francisco, Prabhupada, he started selling them. And everyone had the $10 bills up in there, and I don't even think he had one for himself or something.
He sold his own.
He sold them.
Yeah, and Prabhupada said, went to Brahmananda that, he sold one on the plane. He said, this is a very auspicious sign. So, and the thing is that reading it, I like to read, especially things like that, but that book, it took me away. And I realized that I had certain habits at that time. I had a girlfriend, and I didn't care about her, and I had some other kinds of things, intoxication that I would do, and I forgot about it. I just didn't think about it. I was experiencing so much pleasure by reading. I just kept reading and reading. I was sitting out on the beach. And then and it says somewhere in the introduction, I think, or the preface, Prabhupada says, the perfection of meditation is to meditate on the lotus feet of Krishna and the Hare Krishna mantra. So I would put the book up on this table like that, and I would just stare at Krishna's lotus feet. But I was also saying, Om Hare Krishna, things like that. I thought I was improving on the Hare Krishna mantra. But yeah, but I just immediately accepted. Prabhupada said the perfection of meditation, because people were talking about transcendental meditation, this meditation, and I mean, what are you meditating on? I mean, I meditate all the time. I'm meditating on all kinds of things. I mean, I see this person, I'm meditating on that one, I'm meditating on this. So, and then Prabhupada said, you meditate on the feet, the lotus feet of Krishna. It just immediately made sense to me for some reason. I don't know why. It just made sense. And I would close my eyes and just hold that vision of Krishna's lotus feet. Then there's another one where I think it's Radharani or Bhakti Devi. She's offering tulsi leaves, tulsi flowers, like that. So, the Krishna book, it worked magic.
And Srila Prabhupada composed 10th canto for us to relish it before we are...
And then immediately understood all of those intimate pastimes they used, but it was so much... But then, so when I first joined, also, just to talk about book distribution, then, is that we were mainly just going out on Harinam all day. And this was in New York, so it was very exciting. At different places we'd go all over the city, and then on Fridays and Saturday nights, there was over maybe 150 devotees in Brooklyn Temple. The press was there, and the Back to Godhead staff was there. All the artists were there. And so there was and many devotees were coming through there on their way to India and coming back from India back to California, like that. So it was kind of like an Athens, of ISKCON. Very culturally dynamic place. And the Vaikuntha players started there then. And so then after, I was there for about a few months, we started getting these letters from California. Kuranda was the BBT trustee, and he was saying that his brother Keshava and another devotee, Budimanta, in San Francisco, were going door to door, and they were selling Krishna books. Selling the big books. And we had big discussions discussing how we're all going to now start selling these Krishna books. And all we knew was go on Harinam, and then you go out, you do like a shift. And then after 2 shifts of chanting, then you did a third shift of passing out back to Godheads. And you got maybe 25 cents a magazine, passed out some prasadam. We had little halva balls like that. Simply wonderful. And there was no real push about book distribution. So now everyone's going to have to distribute the Krishna book. And I'm thinking, I love that book. And so we would just go to colleges and just sit down and talk to people. And for a while, I was the #1 distributor in the Brooklyn Temple. I did 10 Krishna books a week. And that was huge. After a while that became... But, you'd spend 2 hours with somebody talking. And then sometimes I had experiences where I'd really be trying to get someone to buy a book and they wouldn't buy it. And then I go, why does anybody want to buy one of these I'll buy one. Just you never know how it's going to work. But the Krishna book really was an explosion, a revolution. And, it all happened by Srila Prabhupada's mercy. And George Harrison giving that donation of $19,000. And that story is very amazing too, how that happened. Yeah. Shamsundar was afraid to ask him all day. He was waiting. So finally he asked, George Harrison, Prabhupada would like, he needs like a $19,000 donation to print a book. And George Harrison gave him this look like, here we go. And just at that moment, huge thunderclap and lightning. And all the lights went out. And they all fell on the floor. And then shortly after, the lights come on, and George says, so how much was that? Because Shamsundar said, Prabhupada, I don't really want to do this. I haven't been asking. I'd like him to want to volunteer. He said, you just do it. Krishna will take care of it. And he did. Anyway, thank you very much for reading. That was very nice.
It's very nice. I just think that I think it's in third canto that it was about Uddhava. I mean, Maitreya probably was talking to Vidura, and he said that he was telling that Uddhava said that Krishna, there is nothing you don't know, but you came to me to consult as you are bewildered, even though you are never bewildered, and this is bewildering for me. And this is so. I think about this verse when I was reading the first chapter of Krishna book, because it's like you can see that first even Lord Brahma can't approach Vishnu, and then even though he knows that Krishna will descend very soon, still he can't approach him directly, and then we can't see all the stories, like we can see it from outside, and it's like it's more accessible to us than to Lord Brahma, and it's so bewildering. Right. And also how like Krishna, he could just take birth, right? But he took birth like as an 8th child, and all these children before they died. So why he did this, we don't know. But it's also so bewildering, and it's like the whole first chapter is very bewildering for me, but I like it. So it's very nice.
There's a whole story about the first six children that why they were killed.
Yes.
They were all killed, yes. And then that's also to eliminate certain impurities.
Yeah, but I mean, it's so hard to understand to us. Like, Krishna can do it like this, right? Why he needs to do it.
Yeah, but it's also, then we would have nothing to meditate on or to talk about. It's relishable.
And also it's nice that, even though that comes to, even though he was in contact with pure devotees of the Lord, he could not understand anything, right? So he was not influenced by pure devotees in the sense that even though Kamsa certainly is an elevated person because he's in he's playing part in his role in this whole pastime, but anyways, it's just interesting that even though he's associating with devotees, he can't understand Krishna's perfection. And I don't know if I can understand, but it's just so scary, that even such big people like Kamsa, still he's like very influenced and intelligent person. He can't understand, and so what to say about me? So it's just
so Krishna comes to give pleasure to his devotees and to enjoy the loving exchange between him and Krishna.
When you talk about that, it came to mind when actually my granddaughter and myself were reading about it, and all these demons, when you have like Putana and Kamsa, and Krishna, he's not a hateful God, he's a loving God, and you can see how he's loving, and even though they're demons, there's as the song goes, Putana God has grace, and went to his own place. And in the Krishna book explains, because Krishna was accepting Putana as his nurse or his mother, that she got that, I've read later on in the Srimad Bhagavatam too, as confirmation, that she got that position. Mm-hmm. Even though she's got poison on her breast milk, and she's wanting this, the baby to be killed, but still Krishna seeing that this demon needed to be killed, but he also is so merciful and kind. He gives her that opportunity to become that kind of, or Kamsa. I've heard different things I heard in one place, maybe it was Krishna book too, how he was even Sarup. I also heard he was also giving liberation and merging into the realms of it. I'm not sure which, but anyway, the point is how Krishna does give even the demons such an opportunity.
He was completely Krishna conscious. I mean, but not in a favorable way.
Yeah, in that sense. He was thinking about Krishna all the time.
Constant, all the time.
Yeah.
You know, so whereas we have fears, and our fears might be like some irrational fear of certain animals, or driving in a car, or flying in a plane, and you would have a reason to be fearful of flying in a plane, since he was in a very big, famous plane crash. But our fears aren't his. His fear was Krishna. So all he was thinking about is Krishna. Krishna, I gotta get rid of him. Krishna. And meanwhile, all the demons are getting killed, but still, yet he never thinks it's not. I'm still gonna be able to do it. I can do this. I'm not gonna let him get me. Never say Krishna.
And it's interesting that I'm just listening that it said, I always forget about the devotees, and they all are demigods. It said the people who are dedicated their life to Krishna, they're all demigods.
So you're all demigods.
Yeah, so it's so nice.
Actually, but more than demigods even. Because we're not interested in, the demigods would like to be a part of Lord Chaitanya's movement. Just think about that. No matter what happens, this is real mercy. So, Krishna Janmashtami is coming. We can meditate on Krishna's coming and all these pastimes, preparing for it to become purified. Fully appreciated. It's not an ordinary day. Hare Krishna. Hare Lord.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu.
Thank you for listening.
What's that?
These are those little...
Oh!